welcome to our Health Coaches Book Club podcast. And I am honored to be collaborating with two really, excellent budding health coaches, Nayos and Rajiv. So we did our course together under ADAPT, Cresser Institute, and we just came up with this idea, why not put something together, whatever we read, we should condense our learning and share it with the wider community. So the first book that we have chosen is Essentialism by Greg McKeown. So all of us have our copies, either an e-copy or the book, and we have read the first chapter. But before we take the deep dive into the first chapter, what we'd like to do is to give you a brief introduction about ourselves, a little bit about our backgrounds. So maybe let's kick it off with Nayos.
Yeah, sure. Like I just said, I'm Nayos. I am 44 and I'm a father of a young child. I have a son that's 4 years old. So kind of give you a little bit of my background. My professional background, I used to be in business development for the past 20 plus years, and mostly in hospitality. And yeah, so that's kind of my background, so you can understand kind of where my point of views are coming from. As for exercising, I really enjoy doing calisthenics, which is a body weight type of exercise. So yeah, that's me.
And Nayos, what brought you into health coaching?
We might not have enough time for that.
Let's hit it. It's okay. This is our first episode. Just
but health coaching is so I've always been I've never been into exercise. I've always exercised because I'm trying to stay healthy. I've always tried to eat healthy, but it's always been a challenge, a difficult thing to do. It's never easy. And it wasn't until COVID. So COVID happened, and that's when I thought to myself, there's so much things that I don't know. I need to focus on what I do know, what I have control over. So I started looking into my own health, my immune system. So when crap hits the fan, at least my body can try to take care of itself. So that's how I kind of jumped into a rabbit hole of health and discovering paleo, discovering Chris Kresser. And I personally went through a 30-day paleo diet, not a diet, excuse me, a 30-day paleo reset, which completely reset my health level and my palate as well. So now eating healthier, it's no longer an effort. It's actually what my body now prefers. I prefer whole foods versus processed foods. Whereas pre-reset, my palate prefers processed food and not so much whole foods. So that completely switched. So I felt I got a lot of benefits from going through that entire process myself. So I thought I wanted to become a health coach so I could share that experience with other fathers with young children out there, because we're always tired most of the time, I would say, and struggle to find energy to spend with your family. And I want to help them get what I have at the moment. That's what kind of brought me to health coaching. Yeah,
that's really nice to hear, Nayos. And actually, I'm just contrasting with what you said and also what we are reading in the book. It's like finding your true, like that lighthouse and goalpost and things like that. And then you have naturally used COVID as the opportunity to find that path and heading into your essentialism space. So that's awesome to hear. Rajiv, would you like to say a few words?
Sure. No, it's always good to hear about ourselves, and that we get inspiration from each other, right? So every one of us has a story, and that is beautiful. For my side, I am Rajiv Rashid. In profession, I'm a change consultant in a financial institution. That is what I've been doing for all of my life, mostly. And then in my personal life, I'm a father, a husband. My daughter she's a teen. So that's a project that I'm managing parallel to everything. More or less that's about it for now. Why I'm here, going back to what Naya said, that mine was not from a realization. Actually, I suffered from health issues, and my daughter did that too. So then I took a stand that I will find out, I will do something about it. And that started the research and investigation and the effort that I have made to get in touch with Kresser Institute. That's a wonderful institute to be with, and meeting you guys, and that changed everything.
So that's nice to hear. So Rajiv, I've actually had the pleasure to work with both of them as my teammates during the course. So I have a little bit more insider information as well. And I think Rajiv in his past life had something to do with rescue ops and a plane landing. So would you like to say something about that, Rajiv?
Oh, so that's in another life. I used to be in with airlines. I did that for a couple of years, and I was on as a ground staff. I used to manage passenger the moment they checks in an airport, starting from that point up to onboarding and everything. So we used to be part of an airlines, and so I had an experience that was, Anju, I was surprised too that you remember that. So so there was a event where after the onboarding, the flight took off, and we were watching the flight heading off, and suddenly we found that our plane is on fire from the ground, and we were never prepared for that. And then somehow nothing major happened. So there was in our country, there used to be an issue with birds flying over and flying across the path of the aircraft, and one of such bird hit the aircraft, and it had to land, emergency landing, and so none of the passengers were hurt. A little bit of bumps here and there, and after that there was a major project to rescue and make sure they are safe, taking them to hotels, hospitals, and then on the next day probably. And it took us 3 days to close that, every passenger to book them in another flight and all this. So that was a good memory. Thank you for reminding.
And I specifically remembered you saying that the way that you went about helping people, that had a huge impact on you too. You were not even sure how you got the energy to do that.
Yeah, that did. Actually, the whole night we worked, right? And the morning our task is to go back and take rest. But that started at the morning hour when we are already exhausted. The point is, the energy came that Anju, and thank you, that energy came out of nowhere. We were just, and we were not ready, but then something happened, and all of the ground staff, we did our best for 3 nights. I didn't leave airport for 3 nights after that, and then yeah. So that actually is related to how I feel today. That's a feeling that resonates with me as of today as well, is because helping others directly, a person, either in physical forms or while we converse with others. If there is a way we can be with somebody, whatever the form and shape of the support is, that's something wonderful. We are lucky to call ourselves as coaches, I should say.
Yeah, so I think that's the common thread that holds us all together, right? Like, we are all looking for ways to help people, and in the process we are also helping ourselves to find our own selves.
Yeah.
So a little bit about myself. I am in Singapore. I came here in 2004, did my PhD, and then I've been working in a bunch of areas like startup, education, research management, and things like that. But that underlying thing to do something more to help people even closer, one-on-one, has always been at my heart and pulling me in various directions to explore. And finally, I landed in health coaching. Maybe the universe called me to do this or whatever it is. So I ended up here, and then I find this a very beautiful way to give back and learn some more. And I'm in that journey, in the process of self-discovery and helping people discover their own journeys as well. And this is another endeavor in the same journey, right? So like 3 of us joined together to do something beautiful with that. Yeah. So I hope the listeners get something out of it. Maybe if you guys are in something like this, that you also are looking forward to help people, please do find out what you can contribute and how best you could do. So I think Essentialism, this book kind of spoke to us in the sense to find what is that real true calling for us as well, and how we can go about doing it and cut out a lot of the noise and things like that. So maybe I'll just start with that first question as to what brought us to read this book, and what do you hope to take away or learn from reading this book. Nayos or Rajiv, any of you can start chiming in as to what
I can go. Yeah. So thank you, Anju and Nayos, and we are doing it at the ultimately, right, guys? So it's something. Okay. So this first book, as Anju mentioned, that it did speak to us, and I'd like to start off by the very first thing that drew my attention, and I was motivated and I was interested, is directly related to how we are trained as a coach. And that's the cover page of the book. I don't know if you can see that. So this circle that comes with the word "this," right? So when we were trained as a coach, we were heavily, intensively taught to understand the presence and the moment, now and here, right? So all of that can be summarized with this one word, "this." And the book, though the book is talking about more about it started as a way to solve productivity issues, maybe from a very simplistic point of view, but when you go more, you will find the book is actually talking about a lot of things. And one of the key things is the presence of what we do, concentration and determination and focus on one particular area. So that's something first, I should say, that drew my attention. Guys, feel free to let me know how you think.
Nayos, what do you think? Yeah.
No, I agree. I agree with Rajiv 100%. And I think there's the book also talks a little bit about the way our lives are these days. There's a lot of, like, in organizations, if you're working for a company, what is a priority, right? Like now it's not just about priority, it's about P1, P2, P3, P4, which is, the author has a really good point. It's like, hey, when everything is important,
nothing is important.
Right? Yeah. Nothing is important. So that's something I think we need to all keep in mind. It's like, when we go through our day to day, we feel like there's everything, we need to get everything done. But when you really take a step back and say, like Rajiv said, this, like, what is essentialism important to me as a person, right? Everyone is different, of course. Me as a father, what is important to me? As a husband, what is important to me? As a coach, what is important to me? So I think let those be your guiding lights to determine how you go through your day. I think will ultimately be the best thing that can happen to any individual.
Yeah,
that's a Anju, can I just
sure chime in, please? Yes.
That primary P1, P2, the way author projected that and narrated that story, I really was smiling that the word priority, he researched about it. It was introduced in 1400s, and until 1900s there was no problem with the word priority. It was going okay. Everybody was happy. At 1900, so all these industrial revolution and all those started in those years, right? So I should say that the conversion of the word priority into priorities is a very funny way to, understand how our life turned over to, where. I don't know how to
Yeah.
explain that, but that's interesting.
Yeah. So with all the different noise that we keep hearing, we kind of lose our singular voice, right, in that process. And so then if somebody else is now controlling our time other than we control our time, so that creates a lot of frustration, anger, guilt, and those emotions are actually giving us a message. And the point is, are we ready to listen to those messages and do something about it, or continue to stay in that hyper emotional state, right? So for me, yes, so this book also spoke to me because we are trying to be better health coaches, but with that comes, again, so many opportunities that we can try to do this, to do that. And also we are balancing our careers if we are having full-time jobs as well, and also family. So there's a demands placed on us. But within that, there is definitely space for us to explore what is most important in that role. As Nayo said, as a father or as a mother, what is that is most important? You'd like to. So I want to pick up some practical skills as well, and also get deeper into what I really want to have those questions answered for myself. So that's why we picked up the book. And the format we would like to approach this podcast is that we will take one section of the book, we three read, because we have busy lives, so we are not able to read the whole book. And also for the audience's benefit, there's no point in condensing all of that information into one shot. So we would like to offer it bite-sized micro learning, small steps at a time. So today we are just doing our introductions and maybe just tackling the first chapter and what we basically took away from it. And if I were to share one main thing with the audience as to what was that message that I got from reading the first chapter, it was that pursuing less but better in a disciplined way. So you're actually living by design and not by default. And how can you do that with the purpose, with deliberation, and also with strategy? So that is what I thought that, that kind of spoke to me, summarized for me that first chapter. So I will leave to Nayos to say what he thought, the first chapter spoke to him. Yeah.
I think maybe I have skipped ahead just now.
It's okay.
Yeah, I think the thing that resonated with me the most is really about identifying what is important. The part they talk about when everything is important, nothing is important. That really hit home for me, because if going through my day, going through my week, it feels like there are so many things I need to do because they are all important. But then after reading that part of the introduction, and it really made me take a step back and say, oh, wait a minute, how can it all be important? And when it is all important, none of it is important. Yeah. And then that kind of that I think that part really hit home for me. Yeah, really taking a step back and figure out what is truly important to you.
Mm. And Rajiv, would you like to add anything to that?
Yeah, so no, I totally, I have nothing, but no way better to explain how Nayas did. That's exactly the impression that I had after reading the book and the first chapter, firstly. But I was thinking from a coaching point of view, and how us coaches will be able to use this book in which context, and what would be the so what type of client we might visit where this book might become relevant for us to remember the learning from this book. So I was thinking that there could be clients who may be visiting us with issues around juggling priorities, right? So that's as Nice exactly said. So in that way, we could ask them about what they are doing, right? So those questions around productivity, and we can probably use this knowledge of this book. Also, there could be. Go ahead, Nice.
I was just going to say, from a client's perspective, juggling priorities, or they'll just simply come to you and say, I don't have time.
Yeah,
There's
totally.
no time, right?
No
There's
time for exercise, or no time for
time for
eating
anything.
right, or
Yeah.
Absolutely. So that's one. There could be a scenario when clients might say that we might find our client who's not present. They're always thinking about something in future, or something in past, or something is not working. They're not sure. So these are all the signs for us coaches to understand when clients, visits us with those symptoms. It could be related to stress. I was thinking, or distraction. The client might say, I'm distracted. And they may have a unfulfilled life or unsatisfactory life. All that become relevant when we read this book, and so that's something I could start with. And
that's
go
really
ahead.
well put, Rajiv. So when I said that when all of it is important, none of it is important, it's basically for me it sounded like we are missing out what is important in that present moment and just focusing on that, instead of being like all over the place. And like even when I was traveling to work today, I was just wondering like, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that. And then I caught myself and I saw that no, right now I'm just going to enjoy the train ride, right? So it's a matter of spacing yourself out and figuring out for the moment what is that important thing that you are doing, instead of overwhelming yourself. And also most of us are go into this problem solving mode and try to see this as like a challenge or a problem, but it's a reframe required there as well, to see it as it's not like all the time you're like a firefighting mode. How do you create that space for yourself? And also I was summarizing that essentialist thing as how can you pursue less to make your highest contribution? And when you can do that highest contribution is when you know what's important to you. If people are just accepting all the invitations and saying yes to everything because of they have this fear of missing out, the FOMO, which people talk about a lot these days, right? And it's very high. And many people who don't have it, I feel, are sure as to what they want. Like, if you know clearly that, this is what I've signed up for and this is what I want, then you wouldn't go say yes to everything, right?
Yeah, that's true. I think the more you're in touch with what's most important to you, then you have less FOMO.
Yeah. And
I think,
go ahead, Rajiv.
No, I was just about to say that the author very rightly, this whole book, when we read it, it's about very simplistically put what to do and what not to do. But the examples and the comparisons made is that he did very skillfully. When I was reading the first chapter, he rightly mentioned that there are some assumptions that we make, right? That he was saying that I have to, right? Some assumption, it is there in our DNA, or it's all important, as Nias was mentioning, or I can do both. Yeah, I'm smart, right? Okay, two options are in front of me. I can do both. So these assumptions are there. Nobody's telling us to assume that, but we are trained, and I think there are and these assumptions. Ultimately, the author is asking us to get rid of these assumptions and replace them with the reality that I do not have to. I choose to, right? That's wonderful. That's a simple thing, that what I choose to do. And as a coach, I was thinking that as a coach, my job would be to understand when our client is coming with that mindset that I choose to, right? The change start, we remember we are trained about the trans theoretical model of change.
Yes.
The moment client says I choose to, wonders start happening at that point of time, right? So it's wonderful for us to relate how we were trained and how the author spoke about.
Yeah, so the power of choice is very important, because if you feel like you are choiceless, you actually have so much choice, but it's just that you think that you have to choose everything. That makes you feel very powerless.
Yeah.
And yeah, that leads to so many other negative emotions as well. So in the process of giving up these non-essential choices and actually choosing the right thing and making your highest impact or contribution, the side effect is that you are less stressful. You actually have more joy and more happiness in the process itself, not like only at the stage when you get the outcome, because that is very short-lived. Oh, I basically starved myself for 3 months and I lost 10 kgs or something like that. So then you feel happy at that moment when you see the weighing scale. Then after that, it is very short-lived. So instead, if you see and how to incorporate essential activities by design into your day-to-day, then the process becomes more enjoyable, and the outcomes, the importance of the outcome kind of diminishes, because it's a continuous process.
Yeah, I agree. And I think part of that is also, since we're talking about essentialism, right? Like getting down to the essence of why you want to do these things that you want to do. Let's just say you said the 30 kg thing, right? Why do you want to lose a 30 kg?
Yeah.
What is that going to do for you? Like, so what happens after you lose it? Getting really down to the essence of the reasoning for that, and that's what's going to power you through whatever you need to get done. Yeah.
That's nice. So some coaching questions coming through as well. So for those who are listening, some of you may be coaches already. If you can see stuff that, you can add on to this conversation, we welcome your comments and feedback. Just to post it in. Or if you're just an audience who is like new to this idea of what is this health coaching, maybe over the next few sessions, we will put in hints as to, what we do and how do we help our clients as well, to live their best lives. And now I think we are kind of coming to the end of the podcast, and I just want to ask each of you to say what would be one actionable insight that you would want to leave our audience with.
I go first. So I can't say one. This book is loaded.
It's too
right?
many. So that's right. The essential, you're literally distilling the essential from the essentialism.
Right. So I would say that for our clients and the audience, I would say that one thing I really believe all my life, and I would recommend everybody because I've learned from my life as well. The first character in this book is Sam Elliot. When you read this book, you will find him. Though it's a fictional name, but he's a guy who's an executive, and he was in struggle. But the one thing he did that changed his life, and that is he didn't become essentialist right away. The best thing he did in his life is he spoke to somebody. So that step is so important for every one of us, for us coaches, for anybody, student, housewives, husbands, brothers, sisters, or at workplace. Do have someone who you trust and speak to them. Find a mentor, find a coach, find us if in that case. That is important. You will know when you do that how different it is. So that's probably the one thing from the first chapter I would ask all of us to take away, that find a coach, find a mentor to speak to, and that will make a lot of difference.
That really helps us to get out of our own echo chambers, isn't it? That
Absolutely.
We are staying with within our own heads and our thoughts. And
absolutely.
Yeah. And that reminds me of that I think Albert Einstein quote, which is you can never solve a problem on the level on which it was created. So we need a meta view of what this problem is, right? We need a meta view. Either ask someone or take a step back, and you just have to get out of your own head in order to figure out what solutions there might be. So yeah, it's a very good point, Rajiv.
Yeah,
He
excellent.
did ask a mentor. Yeah, he did ask a mentor about his problems.
Yeah.
I would probably, if you get a chance, and when we'll publish this, probably we can add a differentiation or definition of coaching and mentoring if possible. We'll consider
Yeah,
that.
we would post
Sure.
some links about health
Yeah.
coaching if they want to read and
Yeah.
things like that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
For me, I thought that the step before wanting to seek help or seek another point of view is also to start noticing that, if you feel that you are not living your life to the way that, it's joyful, and you're in a constant state of stress or burnout, or it feels very like conflicted, and because when I talk to a lot of my clients, that's the starting point. They realized it, they noticed that, that this irritation is not something that they have to live with all the time. There should be a better way. So if you observe, then yeah, definitely please go find someone to talk to. And there's definitely, more cooler ways to live, and we'll just we are here to help as well. So I'm sure you guys have some trustworthy people whom you can approach as well. So thank you so much. Any parting words, guys?
Yeah, I think just to piggyback on what you just said, is that I think the word mindfulness comes to mind for me. Just be mindful of everything, like everything. We're talking about when everything is important, nothing's important. Just be mindful of next time you need to make a choice. Someone asks you to do something. Just be mindful. You don't have to make different choices. Just be mindful of the choices you are making, and how is impacting your, the way you feel. How your day goes. Just be mindful of all the choices you make and the impact it has on your life. I think that alone would really help you get to this essentialism, whatever this book has ready for us.
Yeah. So as I just want to caveat this discussion that, this is our perspective. So I am a mom and a full-time career person who's also trying to be a coach, and Nayos with his business development background and trying to establish his coaching. Could I say practice? Yes, and Rajiv with his finance background and all those things. So it's our perspective. So we are seeing this book through our lens. So if you want to get what the book has to offer, definitely go ahead and read the book. And if you think that, this is not like a summary that we're just going to say bullet points and things like that. So yeah, I just want to caveat that. Yeah. So
all right,
maybe we would call it a day, and then we hope that you tune in for our future episodes. Yeah, Nayos.
Yeah, and guys, whoever is listening, sorry, Nayos, whoever is listening, feel free to share your comments. This little endeavor, we just came up with this idea and started off. So how it stays with you, share your views and let us know.
We need all your encouragement and support as well. So
yeah, absolutely.
Nayos, you wanted to say something?
If you'd like to share it.
Share, like, subscribe, or whatever the usual.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. We don't know what platform this is going to be on.
So we cannot point our fingers here and there.
Yeah.
Okay,